Number 4. The president sends messages of support to Cohen. In January 2018, the media reported that Cohen had arranged a $130,000 payment during the campaign to prevent a woman from publicly discussing an alleged sexual encounter she had with the president before he ran for office. This office did not investigate Cohen's campaign period payments to women. However, those events, as described here, are potentially relevant to the president's and his personal counsel's interactions with Cohen as a witness, who later began to cooperate with the government. On February 13, 2018, Cohen released a statement to news organizations that stated, "In a private transaction in 2016, I used my own personal funds to facilitate a payment of $130,000 to the woman. Neither the Trump organization nor the Trump campaign was a party to the transaction with the woman, and neither reimbursed me for the payment, either directly or indirectly." In congressional testimony on February 27, 2019, Cohen testified that he had discussed what to say about the payment with the president, and that the president had directed Cohen to say that the president was not knowledgeable of Cohen's actions in making the payment. On February 19, 2018, the day after the New York Times wrote a detailed story attributing the payment to Cohen and describing Cohen as the president's fixer, Cohen received a text message from the president's personal counsel that stated, "Client says thanks for what you do." On April 9, 2018, FBI agents working with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York executed search warrants on Cohen's home, hotel room, and office. That day, the president spoke to reporters and said that he had just heard that they broke into the office of one of my personal attorneys, a good man. The president called the searches a real disgrace and said, "It's an attack on our country in a true sense. It's an attack on what we all stand for." Cohen said that after the searches, he was concerned that he was an open book, that he did not want issues arising from the payments to women to come out, and that his false statements to Congress were a big concern. A few days after the searches, the president called Cohen. According to Cohen, the president said he wanted to check in and ask if Cohen was okay, and the president encouraged Cohen to hang in there and stay strong. Cohen also recalled that following the searches, he heard from individuals who were in touch with the president and relayed to Cohen the president's support for him. Cohen recalled that, redacted, PP, a friend of the president's reached out to say that he was with the boss in Mar-a-Lago, and the president had said he loves you and not to worry. Cohen recalled that, redacted, personal privacy, for the Trump organization told him, "The boss loves you," and Cohen said that, redacted, PP, a friend of the president's told him, "Everyone knows the boss has your back." On or about April 17, 2018, Cohen began speaking with an attorney, Robert Costello, who had a close relationship with Rudolph Giuliani, one of the president's personal lawyers. Costello told Cohen that he had a back channel of communication to Giuliani, and that Giuliani had said the channel was crucial and must be maintained. On April 20, 2018, the New York Times published an article about the president's relationship with and treatment of Cohen. The president responded with a series of tweets predicting that Cohen would not flip. The New York Times and a third-rate reporter are going out of their way to destroy Michael Cohen and his relationship with me in the hope that he will flip. They use non-existent sources and a drunk, drugged-up loser who hates Michael, a fine person with a wonderful family. Michael is a businessman for his own account, lawyer, who I have always liked and respected. Most people will flip if the government lets them out of trouble, even if it means lying or making up stories. Sorry, I don't see Michael doing that despite the horrible witch hunt and the dishonest media. In an email that day to Cohen, Costello wrote that he had spoken with Giuliani. Costello told Cohen the conversation was very, very positive. You are loved. They are in our corner. Sleep well tonight. You have friends in high places. Cohen said that following these messages, he believed he had the support of the White House if he continued to toe the party line, and he determined to stay on message and be part of the team. At the time, Cohen's understood that his legal fees were still being paid by the Trump Organization, which he said was important to him. Cohen believed he needed the power of the president to take care of him, so he needed to defend the president and stay on message. Cohen also recalled speaking with the president's personal counsel about pardons after the searches of his home and office had occurred, at a time when the media had reported that pardon discussions were occurring in the White House. Cohen told the president's personal counsel he had been a loyal lawyer and servant, and he said that after the searches he was in an uncomfortable position and wanted to know what was in it for him. According to Cohen, the president's personal counsel responded that Cohen should stay on message, that the investigation was a witch hunt, and that everything would be fine. Cohen understood, based on this conversation and previous conversation about pardons with the president's personal counsel, that as long as he stayed on message about pardons, he would be taken care of by the president, either through a pardon or through the investigation being shut down. On April 24, 2018, the president responded to a reporter's inquiry whether he would consider a pardon for Cohen with, "Stupid question." On June 8, 2018, the president said he hadn't even thought about pardons for Manafort or Cohen, and continued, "It's far too early to be thinking about that. They haven't been convicted of anything. There's nothing to pardon." And on June 15, 2018, the president expressed sympathy for Cohen, Manafort, and Flynn in a press interview and said, "I feel badly about a lot of them because I think a lot of it is very unfair." 5. The president's conduct after Cohen began cooperating with the government. On July 2, 2018, ABC News reported, based on an exclusive interview with Cohen, that Cohen strongly signaled his willingness to cooperate with Special Counsel Robert Mueller and federal prosecutors of the Southern District of New York, even if that puts President Trump in jeopardy. That week, the media reported that Cohen had added an attorney to his legal team who previously had worked as a legal advisor to President Bill Clinton. Beginning on July 20, 2018, the media reported on the existence of a recording Cohen had made of a conversation he had had with candidate Trump about a payment made to a second woman who said she had had an affair with Trump. On July 21, 2018, the president responded, "Inconceivable that the government would break into a lawyer's office early in the morning, almost unheard of. Even more inconceivable that a lawyer would tape a client, totally unheard of and perhaps illegal. The good news is that your favorite president did nothing wrong." On July 27, 2018, after the media reported that Cohen was willing to inform investigators that Donald Trump Jr. told his father about the June night 26 meeting to get dirt on Hillary Clinton, the president tweeted, "So the fake news doesn't waste my time with dumb questions. Nope, I did not know of this meeting with my son, Don Jr. Sounds to me like someone is trying to make up stories in order to get himself out of an unrelated jam. Taxicabs, maybe? He even retained Bill or Crooked Hillary's lawyer. Gee, I wonder if they helped him make this choice." On August 21, 2018, Cohen pleaded guilty in the Southern District of New York to 8 felony charges, including 2 counts of campaign finance violations based on the payments he had made during the final weeks of the campaign to women who said they had affairs with the president. During the plea hearing, Cohen stated that he had worked at the discretion of the candidate in making those payments. The next day, the president contrasted Cohen's cooperation with Manafort's refusal to cooperate, tweeting, "I feel very badly for Paul Manafort and his wonderful family. Justice took a 12-year-old tax case, among other things, applied tremendous pressure on him, and, unlike Michael Cohen, he refused to make up stories in order to get a deal. Such respect for a brave man." On September 17, 2018, this office submitted written questions to the president that included questions about the Trump Tower Moscow project and attached Cohen's written statement to Congress and the letter of intent signed by the president. Among other issues, the questions asked the president to describe the timing and substance of discussions he had had with Cohen about the project, whether they discussed a potential trip to Russia, and whether the president at any time directed or suggested that discussions about the Trump-Moscow project should cease, or whether the president was informed at any time that the project had been abandoned. On November 20, 2018, the president submitted written responses that did not answer those questions about Trump Tower Moscow directly, and did not provide any information about the timing of the candidate's discussions with Cohen about the project, or whether he participated in any discussions about the project being abandoned or no longer pursued. Instead, the president's answers stated in relevant part, "I had few conversations with Mr. Cohen on this subject. As I recall, they were brief, and they were not memorable. I was not enthused about the proposal, and I do not recall any discussion of travel to Russia in connection with it. I do not remember discussing it with anyone else at the Trump Organization, although it is possible. I do not recall being aware at the time of any communications between Mr. Cohen and Felix Sater and any Russian government officials regarding the letter of intent." On November 29, 2018, Cohen pleaded guilty to making false statements to Congress based on his statements about the Trump Tower Moscow project. In a plea agreement with this office, Cohen agreed to provide truthful information regarding any and all matters as to which this office deems relevant. Later, on November 29, after Cohen's guilty plea had become public, the president spoke to reporters about the Trump Tower Moscow project, saying, "I decided not to do the project. I decided ultimately not to do it. There would have been nothing wrong if I did do it. If I did do it, there would have been nothing wrong. That was my business. It was an option that I decided not to do. I decided not to do it. The primary reason, I was focused on running for president. I was running my business while I was campaigning. There was a good chance that I wouldn't have won, in which case I would have gone back into the business. And why should I lose lots of opportunities?" The president also said that Cohen was a weak person, and by being weak, unlike other people that you watch, he is a weak person. And what he's trying to do is get a reduced sentence. So he's lying about a project that everybody knew about. The president also brought up Cohen's written submission to Congress regarding the Trump Tower Moscow project. So here's the story. Go back and look at the paper that Michael Cohen wrote before he testified in the House and/or Senate. It talked about his position. The president added, "Even if Cohen was right, it doesn't matter because I was allowed to do whatever I wanted during the campaign." In light of the president's public statements following Cohen's guilty plea that he decided not to do the project, this office again sought information from the president about whether he participated in any discussions about the project being abandoned or no longer pursued, including when he decided not to do the project, who he spoke about that decision, and what motivated the decision. The office also again asked for the timing of the president's discussions with Cohen about Trump Tower Moscow, and asked him to specify what period of the campaign he was involved in discussions concerning the project. In response, the president's personal counsel declined to provide additional information from the president and stated that the president has fully answered the questions at issue.